Well, it's not envy, it's war. It is a class war, and it's a war that has been perpetrated by the rich onto everybody else. I mean, the class war is one they started. Here's what I find really interesting. You know, corporate America and Wall Street, they're always thinking about what's in it for us. How's it going to work for us? And they actually need poverty. They need poor people. The system doesn't work for them unless there's always a good chunk of poor people. The mistake they've made is that they had a permanent poor class, mostly people of color, but a lot of poor white people too. They had a permanent class of poor that they could use as essentially a threat to the middle class. If you ask for too much, if you ask for higher wages, if you're expecting health benefits, if you want a day off, you could very quickly be over there with those people. So they knew how to use this group to manipulate this group. The huge, catastrophic, tactical mistake that they've made because of their incredible greed. And they came up with it really, essentially with the housing thing. Because after they soaked the poor, after they used the poor, they thought, geez, you know, we're just not making enough money. What can we get off the middle class? Well, wait a minute. They all own homes. Let's do the mortgage thing. Let's start, and this is before they went into the inner city to connive and scam poor people. They've been doing that for a long time. The idea of the 90s and this last decade was to figure out how to make the middle class essentially put the one thing they had some investment in, their home, up for either to get a second mortgage or to get a better home or whatever, because they've always convinced the middle class that you too could be that. You could be rich someday. So don't vote for more taxes for us rich people. Okay, yeah, no, we sure won't, because in America, anybody can make it. I might be you someday. If Wall Street and the rich thought poverty was bad, they'd get rid of it. If they really thought it was not good for them, right? They have the means to get rid of it. They would get rid of it. But they don't. They need it. They need this large pool, half the country living in anxiety and fear. And the other half over here are the ones that they'll sell their goods to. This is going to continue. Even if we stop them on this scam, the beast will come up with the next scam. The monster has to be fed. And until we change the system, and let's use the C word here. We're talking about capitalism. We're talking about not the old kind of capitalism where, you know, work hard, do well, everybody benefits. We're talking about capitalism as defined in the 21st century. Set it up so that just the few succeed and everybody else suffers and serves them. This ultimately has to change. The way we structure this economy, the say that we don't have in this economy has to change. This has to be a democratic economy where you and I control it, not Wall Street, not the banks. While some of us are trying to abolish capitalism, or if it's a more comfortable word for you, greed, that's just another word for it. While we have to do that, you're right, the practical things right now, people who, if they do have cable and are able to watch this, right?
If not, it's on PBS next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
If not, we're talking on free television, free public. Here's something we can do. You asked about all these poverty programs, you know, and people complain about poverty. Well, here's a poverty program that everybody should get behind, no matter what your political stripe is. Jobs. Because isn't that really at the core of what everybody's been saying, that if you have a job and you're paid a decent wage, a livable wage, isn't that really the eradication of this poverty, if you are paid a wage so that you're not in poverty? I live in a town in northern Michigan where it's very cold in the winter. And there's no natural gas, let's say. You use heating oil to heat your home. If if the heating oil company down the road was hoarding all the oil and not selling it to the people so they could heat their homes in the winter, what would the people do in that town? Rise up! But no, wait a minute, capitalism, our laws say that if that oil company the heating oil company doesn't want to sell you their oil, they don't have to. Well, that's got to change. And let me say this to the 1% who might be watching. How many gated communities can you build? Because you've made 150 million Americans poor or nearly poor. I'm a nonviolent, pacifist person. You have, as you said, the communities across this country who are full of love and wanting to work together to make this a better country. How much more are you going to make them suffer? Because someday they're not going to take it anymore. And you're going to wish that you dealt with it now. So I'm encouraging you to deal with it now when there's peace and nonviolence. That's what we prefer. That's what we all prefer. Do it. Trust me. It's coming.